Every day, it seems, I hear about outrageous convictions of conservatives, whether it's January 6th protesters who are getting sentences far disproportionate to what they did. And, my old position on this was, look, you got violent guys and you got nonviolent guys, and the nonviolent guys weren't doing anything egregious, and they should get slaps on the wrist, if anything at all. In some cases, nothing is appropriate. But the violent guys, the guys who got into a fracas with the cops and so on, do need to be held accountable. But when I see these sentences that are ridiculously disproportionate, even to what those guys did, I think that what January 6th represents is massive civil rights violations of these defendants. And I think all of them deserve to be set free. All of them deserve to be pardoned. Because think about it. Sometimes when you have a violation of your basic rights, you did do something wrong. But the cops had no right to search your car. They had no right to arrest your whole family. They had no right to subject you to torture. They had no right to forcibly interrogate you without a lawyer. And guess what? The resulting admissions, even if true, are then thrown out of court. And I think that's what we have here. We have such violations of due process, not to mention equal justice under the law. Just today, I read, and I'll probably talk about this tomorrow, a couple of pro-lifers in their 70s are facing long prison terms. I'm talking about 10 years plus. For what? For basically protesting and attempting to blockade an abortion clinic in the Washington, D.C. area. So yeah, did these guys do it? I guess that they were, out of conscience, trying to do their best to save infants from being aborted. That was their motivation. And you might not agree with the motivation, and you might think, well, okay, listen, they were trespassing, they were interfering with the legal process, in this case, the women who are going in to get abortions. And so, but to lock them up in their 70s, to give them essentially each of them a death sentence for this, in the wake of the kind of sentences that are handed out to violent offenders in our country every day, this is absolutely outrageous. In any event, all of this is a little bit of a backdrop to saying that I do have a piece of welcome news, and that is that the three last defendants who were charged with being part of the Whitmer Kidnapping. Remember the Whitmer Kidnapping? We know that now to be the Whitmer Kidnapping hoax. And I say that because even though Whitmer went on TV and breathlessly announced, a plot has been uncovered to kidnap me and so on. This was right before the 2020 election. It was an election interference of its own. The media was all over it. Turns out Governor Whitmer knew for months about that plot. She knew for weeks about it. She knew who was involved. She knew that the FBI was on it. She knew that they had infiltrated these groups. So her performance was entirely a stage act. It was essentially a complete sham on the American public. And unfortunately, many people fell for it because they're like, oh, this poor woman, and she's just found out that she was a target. No, she didn't just find out. She knew all along. And she knew all along because the FBI had not only infiltrated this group called the Wolverines, but the FBI was driving the whole plot. The FBI was organizing conferences, paying bills. They had FBI agents as well as informants involved. I think Julie Kelly points out there were more informants and agents involved in the operation than there were so-called criminals who were doing it. The criminals were put up to it by the FBI. Now, a couple of them, Adam Fox and Barry Croft, were convicted. And they were convicted really by a judge who didn't allow the entrapment defense to be really considered by the jury. He acted like that has got nothing to do with it. And even if they were entrapped, the very fact that they went along means that they are part of the problem and they need to be held fully accountable. I mean, just think about the precedent of that. Think about the precedent of the government committing crimes, organizing crimes, setting people up to do crimes, and then when people agree to do them, busting them. But nevertheless, they got those two convictions, but they also have failed more often than they've succeeded. Initially, there were two defendants who were exonerated by the jury, who were acquitted, including Brandon Caserta. And now the last three guys who were charged, William Null, his twin brother Michael Null, and a third guy, Eric Molitor, and all of them were charged with participating in military-style drills, traveling to see Whitmer's Michigan vacation home, and being part of a plot. Well, guess what? The jury considered the evidence, and the jury ruled in the first case acquittal. In the second case, acquittal. In the third case, acquittal. In other words, acquittal of all three men on all charges, including the possession of a firearm charge. Sometimes juries get sort of hoodwinked. They're like, okay, I'm going to acquit on the main charge, but I'm going to give, and then the guy gets a tough sentence anyway, because the judge uses the second charge as a pretext, in a sense, to convict on the first charge as well. But here the jury was like, no, these men are walking free, and you could see the overwhelming sense of relief when they heard the results. So I'm delighted to say I think justice is done in this case. These men walk free. I wish that the other two guys who were convicted would also walk free. The people who really need to be in jail are the FBI guys who organized this fake heist. Vladimir Putin called the US dollar's drop in dominance objective and irreversible as Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa formally agreed to use their local currencies in trade instead of the US dollar. Now, this is the first shoe to fall as demand for the US dollar weakens. The buying power of the dollar weakens. That's why Birch Gold Group is now busier than ever. Investors and savers like me are looking to harness the power of physical gold held in a tax-sheltered IRA. Debbie and I buy our gold from Birch Gold. We trust them to help us diversify and protect our savings. Text Dinesh to 989898. You'll get a free information kit on gold. With thousands of happy customers, an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews, you can count on Birch Gold to help you navigate transitioning an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. As the US dollar continues to receive pressure from foreign countries, digital currency, central banks, arm yourself with information on how to protect your savings. Here's how you get started. Text Dinesh to 989898. Get your free information kit now.